Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Always a delight to have Treva Kuyper with us. She's one of the co-leaders of the ministry called the Loft, one of the great outreaches to young teenage girls in our area. And hi.
Hi.
We were talking just before going on the air, the impact that you're having. And for those who are just now catching this for the first time, give us a synopsis of the Loft.
The Loft is an outreach ministry to teen girls, 8th through 12th grade. We meet during the school year from September to June, the second Sunday night of every month, and we tackle the big issues. We were just talking about last month was addictions. And at the beginning of the year, we tackled body image, beauty, online safety. In a couple months, we're going to tackle the topic of sex and relationships.
We are?
Yes.
You and I are going to talk about that?
We are going to talk about that, yes.
Okay.
And we just get in there and get real with these girls and help them navigate through life.
You said it took you a little while to recover from last week, so
Yes.
I don't know, are we ever really shocked? But I guess we're really shocked when we hear it.
We are, and yeah, last month the addiction topic, it took me about a week to come back from that, because you're in that. Not only is there a spiritual battle going on for our girls,
Right.
but then they turn in prayer requests. They confess things that they're struggling with, and even though it's not shocking, you go, yeah, I knew that. But when you're putting faces to those addictions, those sweet little faces, I walk away and I'm heartbroken.
Yeah.
It definitely gets me to pray for these girls even more, because I realize the struggle is so deep and so real for a lot of these girls.
So, at the end of the day, these young girls, with all of the struggles, they're living two lives.
Yeah. They're trying to keep their head above water. They're trying to do the things that we're telling them is good and right and wise for them to do. But at the end of the day, they're teenagers. They're children.
Yeah.
They're still children.
Yeah.
And that lack of maturity to know that I need to do X, Y, and Z because this is what's good for me, that's not always there. They're still growing in that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's still a struggle.
Boy, and I can't imagine the war that's going on in their heart when they want to do good and evil is present. You know, that's the
Yeah.
Romans 7 thing.
Absolutely. Paul talked about it. Absolutely. You know, and just trying to explain to them that in their sinful nature, they're going to continue to stumble, but through Christ as their Savior. That's what I love about the Loft, is we introduce them to Christ. We introduce them to the one that can rescue them and save them. Yeah.
Well, let me just say to our viewers and listeners, you can join this. If you have a teenage girl from 8th to 12th grade, they can join this at anywhere along the line. And your topic coming up this Sunday is going to be another biggie: anxiety, stress, and depression. Now, wait a minute. These girls are supposed to be happy and go lucky in their prime of life, and they're waiting for the phone to ring from their Mayan and shining armor.
Right.
And they're full of stress and anxiety?
Yes, they are. And, you know, a lot of it stems from fear. A lot of our teenagers they're fearful, they're scared. And that can be from circumstances that have happened in the past. We talked in January to the girls about divorce and blended families. And oftentimes situations that have happened in their lives create this anxiety, this fear of what is my future going to be like? And is this painful thing that happened to me before, is it going to happen again? And they don't have the experience. They don't have the experience to say, you know what, I've seen God work in my life. Like you and I, we have that experience to say, when the storm comes, to say, I've seen God work in my life over and over. And so we can hold firm to that. But these girls are still learning that, if they even know it at all. So they kind of just spiral into this anxiety and this worry and this fear. And we want to give them encouragement this Sunday to say, you don't have to live your life like that.
What are they worrying about?
A lot of them worry about how they fit in with their peers, how they fit in at school, if they're going to go to college, will they get good grades. Some of that anxiety comes from home. You know, they go to school where their friends are, but then they go home, maybe to a broken home or a home where there's lots of suffering. And then that brings anxiety because they don't know. They feel out of control. Oftentimes they feel out of control.
Do they think the world's a safe place?
I think they want desperately to think it's a safe place. And depending on their experience, it either is or it's really not. Some girls, you know, that their home life. I think that's where a lot of it stems from. Their home life is very secure. Maybe they come from a home where the parents, they love the Lord and they're trying their best to teach them the ways of the Lord. Then they can look at the world kind of through that lens and say, yeah, there are good people in this world and it's mostly a safe place. But then we have a lot of girls that come to the Loft that have such brokenness that they're trying to trust somebody's telling them something, it's going to be okay, but they don't have the experience to back that up.
What do some of these girls do in the way of destructive behavior that would indicate that they're struggling with fear or, as you said earlier, out of control?
When they start to feel out of control, they want to do absolutely anything to gain control in their own little world. And it's usually very secretive. So eating disorders will stem out of that. Cutting, self-harm, self-hate will stem out of that.
Excuse me, that's the one I don't get. Do you get that? Do you understand that? To me, why would you want to hurt yourself? Why would you? I don't. There's a disconnect in my mind on that one.
Well, this is our 3rd year in this ministry, so 3 years now I've studied this self-harm topic, and I have to admit I didn't get it at first. At first, I thought, what in the world is going on that you would want to cut yourself to feel better? It's an oxymoron. What it is that when the girls or teenagers, because boys do it too, when they're trying to gain control, pain that comes at them from all these different areas, they're not in control of. So if they're coming from a broken home or there's abuse or there's things happening in the world, they're being bullied. If there's pain coming that they cannot control, the pain that they inflict on themselves is pain that they can control.
And that erases this outside.
It kind of brings some release, some relief. But what they don't understand when they're doing that is it's a temporary relief that is destroying them in the long run. So when we talk about self-harm at the Loft, that's one of the things we try to teach them, is that in that moment, like any destructive behavior, in that moment, it seems like, oh, this is going to take this away. But all it does is destroy you down the line.
I can't help but think what goes through the heart of a parent to think, even if a child is raised in a good atmosphere in a good home, that they get caught in this. They feel so hopeless.
They do.
And they don't understand what happened to my child that they would get involved in this.
I know, and my heart breaks for parents. I'm a parent of a teen girl. She's a freshman, and I know because we want to, as parents, we want to help navigate. We want to help them with all of these issues. And the world is fallen and it's broken, and they go to school and they're around other people that are broken, and they're grasping at straws oftentimes to find something to fix it or find something to fill that void or gain control. And because of the lack of maturity, they'll choose things that we wouldn't choose for them. But I think it's important for parents to be encouraged. If we are setting that example for them, and that's where you go back to anxiety, worry, stress. How are we as parents? How do our kids see us handle storms in life? How do they see us handle struggles? How do they see us when we're stressed out or anxious or if we're depressed? They need to see that example, and the consistency of these girls' parents showing them that example, and then like at the Loft, the mentors that are there, that consistency speaks volumes, and you're planting seeds. So even though they may be struggling right now, it's not the end of the story.
But you planted the seed of hope.
Yes,
there's
absolutely.
Another way out of this.
Absolutely, and that's where we share the gospel at the Loft and let them know that Christ came to save them, to rescue them. He died for those sins. We don't have to live in that. We don't have to roll around in the mud, the muck, and the mire. There is hope. And we have this Sunday, we have 2 speakers, 2 women that are going to come and share their story, their testimony on anxiety and fear and how it controlled them and how they live victoriously through that. So the girls are going to hear real life stories. That's what they hear every month, so that they know there's hope. They can look at someone older than them and say, okay, I can get through this.
All right, let me take a little sidebar here.
Yeah.
It's this Sunday night.
Yes.
At the Central Point Community Bible Church.
Yes.
At what time?
5:30, and we feed them dinner. So 5:30 to 8:30, we feed them dinner.
Pizza on the house, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We feed them dinner. We do prizes and games, and then we get real with them.
Okay, and I want to say that if you know a teenage gal that's maybe suffering in any of these areas, from anxiety to worry to stress, struggling in that, you're more than welcome. Just show up. Maybe you want to get a hold of Treva later. We'll give out your number. And one other thing, I see here that you're going to have Parents' Night.
We are. The following Sunday, March 16th, we're going to have Parent Night at the Loft from 6:30 to 8:30 at Community Bible Church in Central Point. You just show up. The parents just show up. And this is going to be a night of encouragement for our parents, because we realize that we're partnering with the parents. Even if we've never met them, we're partnering with them. We're building into their teen girls. And so this Parent Night, we're going to go over some of our topics, give them some wisdom and insight on what we've done this year, and let them know, these are some of the things that we've shared with your girls, but then also give them encouragement in raising teen girls, because it is not easy.
Let me look at this, see if I have this order right. These girls have fear, produces anxiety, and if it's not caught there, it can go into depression.
Exactly, yes.
And how bad is depression in a teenage girl?
Well, about 20% of our teen girls suffer with depression. And a lot of times that's by their circumstance, by their hormones, often like that. But what we don't want to do is not address it, so that by the time they're adults, they're full-blown in depression that they feel like they can't get out of. So we try to address it now. Girls, there are some that we've been talking about. There are some that are truly depressed. And then there's some, you'll hear girls just sort of use the word, oh, I'm so depressed today. Oh, I'm so depressed. And some of that is just because they've had a bad day, or because they're struggling in some of these other areas. So we're trying to address it where we don't want to give the girls a way to say, your life is difficult, so it's okay for you to just say, oh, I'm just depressed today. We really want to give a definition to that on Sunday night, and we do have someone who's coming that has struggled with depression that's also going to talk to the girls, just so that the girls can kind of see where they're at on that spectrum. Are they anxious? Do they worry too much? Do we need to address that? Or has it moved into owning them?
Fabulous. I just so switched on to this ministry, and I just want to encourage you, if you know somebody, or maybe you have a teenager in your own house, or a friend of a friend, whatever, this is a ministry that is there for the taking, if I can put it that way.
Yes.
How do they get a hold of you, Treva, if they want more information?
They can call Community Bible Church in Central Point, and again, they just show up. They can bring their friends. 8th grade through 12th grade girls are welcome. 5:30 this Sunday. It's going to be great.
There it is. All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
God bless you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Welcome back. Coming up in just a few moments, we're going to have our good friend David Crowe with us. He heads up Restore America and Value Your Vote and Vote Your Values campaign. A couple of weeks ago, perhaps if you're a pastor listening or watching today, we sent you a letter to invite you to a special gathering, and we'll be using the facilities there at the First Church of the Nazarene to inform you what can or can't be done as it relates to voter registration with congregants in your church. And not only is it legal, but I think now one of the most important times in the history of the church that we exercise our civic responsibility. So we are inviting you to that gathering, and if you haven't responded and you got the letter, would you please take a few moments and call the number in that letter and let us know that you're coming so we can properly prepare the food so we can feed you at lunchtime. But there are some statistics concerning the state of Oregon that have just become staggering. And at the end of the day, it's real simple. Christians who are eligible to vote, if they will register to vote and then vote, pretty much can sway any election in the state of Oregon. And for some reason, we have opted out. It's kind of like a silent surrender that we just cannot allow to take place in our culture, and especially in this state. David Crowe and I go way back, and he's a good friend of mine, but he has been called of God to head up Restore America. He works around the country, but his heart and his passion, and right now his commitment, is still to the state of Oregon to increase Christian voter registration throughout the state for this next election cycle. So, Dave, I think we have you on the phone. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Hey, I'm sorry that my Skype wasn't ready for you folks this morning.
That's all right. You know, technology being what it is, what's wrong with the phone?
It still works.
Hey, listen, first of all, thanks for what you do, friend, and the passion and the commitment that you have for this. I know that your heart is still for the state of Oregon. And give us some statistics so we get our head around how important this election cycle coming up, but more importantly, some of the numbers that let us know that we're just not turning out the vote.
Well, you know, Perry, I have a lot of those in my head. I don't have the slide up. I'm trying to get that up. I have a laptop here because my desktop is down.
Oh.
So I'm trying to catch up with that information. But I'll tell you what I do know is that if you go to the Pew Forum on Religion and Public Life, they show that 30%, and they do extensive research on all of the states. And you can find a map on that Pew Forum. You've got to look around for it, but it's you can find it, and you click on Oregon. You can click on any state, and it will show you the percentage of evangelicals. It will break down all the church, Jehovah's Witness, everything, all the way down, and to Baha'i, even something like that. And you can see the percentage that they hold. And evangelical Christians in Oregon lead by far and away over any other aspect of the church or any religion. We're 30%. 30% of the population of Oregon are evangelical Christians.
Wow.
And that's not counting Catholics, it's not counting Mormons, it's not counting anything else. And the national average is 26%. Here in Tennessee, which is a very out in the open Christian state, it's 51%. Wow. The other two states that are the only ones that are larger, are 53%, are Arkansas and Oklahoma. And you can see what Oklahoma's done if you really pay attention to the laws that they're passing, things that they're doing in Oklahoma, because they're a much more conservative state. And you look at all the exit polls and all the research, George Mason University, their election project, huge, detailed, all of those exit polls and all of the primaries, general election, and all of those key states. If you're an evangelical, 78% of evangelicals voted conservatively. In the last election, it was Romney, all the way down the line. So the real question is how many are turning out. In this last election, 3 million fewer evangelicals across the nation turned out to vote than the previous two, which is 2004 and 2008.
Whoa.
And so when you break it down, you look at it, what they're saying is that there's somewhere between 55, and this is the parameters I'm giving you from my research and all the other researchers, between 55 and 60 million Bible-believing, born-again, evangelical Christians in this nation. And when only 30 million of them and that's, that's eligible to vote, okay? That's not the total population. That 55 to 60 million is eligible. When you break it down and you see that only 30 to 33 million are voting in each election, each presidential election, and it's fewer than that in the off-presidential year elections, there is no way that we cannot control the destiny of America if we will turn out our voters. And that's right. The issue that we have in Oregon. You break that down in Oregon, and 30% of the population. You go to the Population Research Center there in Portland State University, which is where the state of Oregon takes all of its census numbers. All of their numbers are based on the research there at Portland State.
Right.
You go there, you look at that, and then you plug in 30% of Oregon's population. It's over a million people.
Yeah, it's 1,168,000.
There you go.
And then you take, I think you say 78% of that as to who would be eligible, and that puts it at 911,000 evangelicals in Oregon are eligible to vote.
And then you take a look at how many are registered, and then you split it out from there as to how many turn out. And this is an off-presidential year election. In 2010, the turnout in Oregon was 41.6%. And if we're generous and we say 45%, because there are a lot of people who are angry, and because of that, a lot more people will vote. A lot of people are very, very concerned. So this time they may. So even on the high side, when you figure on the high side, you're looking at a voter registration And when you look at the turnout, it's incredibly low.
Right.
And so it's hard for people to believe, but you can win a primary election on 8 to 9%
right.
of the eligible voters.
Right.
And when you look at Barna's numbers, and I've talked to Barna several times, and I've got a lot of his information, George Barna, he says that there are about 355,000 evangelicals in Oregon who are eligible to vote who are not voting. My numbers are somewhere a little over 300,000, but who's to argue with George Barna?
Okay.
But if you say even conservatively, if 300,000 are not voting, and then when you consider, let's take one major race, the governorship, in which we elected Kitzhaber again, he won by 22,000 votes. 22,000.
Wow.
And when you consider that 300,000 evangelicals are not voting for one reason or another, there's all kinds of reasons, but they're not good reasons, because our founders bled and died to give us the freedom to self-govern. And the way you self-govern is by elections and voting people into office that you believe would best represent you, your values. And from a Christian standpoint, we know that there is only one true and living God, always has been. And he's called us to build his kingdom. And, he says, on earth, in heaven, and on earth, thy kingdom come. So he has us here after we become believers. He doesn't take us out immediately and say, okay, you're saved. Come on up.
Yeah.
He doesn't say that.
No.
He calls us citizens. In Matthew 5, Jesus says that we are the light of the world. 2 chapters earlier, he said he is the light of the world. But now he calls us, the believers, the light of the world, the salt of the earth. Salt is a preserver, and light sheds light, so you can see what the truth is. And he's called us to that. And when we take that for granted, or we just assume that it's not relevant to us with voting, we are truly misunderstanding what the Scripture is saying to us. We have a citizenship duty in heaven and on earth as his ambassadors to be salt and light. And the way you do that is through the vote. That's one of the ways you do it. And we know when that happens, third Tuesday of every May, and first Tuesday in November. So we're coming up on a very, very important primary. The more Christians register, we have a senatorial race that is very interesting. One of the candidates that's running is a born-again, Bible-believing Christian, and a solid guy.
Yeah.
So we have an opportunity, if we're not happy with the U.S. Senate, which a lot of people are not right now, for good reasons, we have an opportunity to change that number by 1. And I don't think they're expecting Oregon to do that. We've got a marriage petition that's up again.
Yep.
So that's there, as well as the possibility of having the opportunity, if we get enough signatures, on stopping abortion by the state-funded, taxpayer-funded abortion in Oregon. And I don't know what Christian really wants to see their tax dollars used for 11 abortions a day.
That's right.
And to me, there are about 3 things, major things, that we have an opportunity to vote on. And we're AWOL. We're absent from the battlefield. We're not even in the battle if we choose not to vote.
All right, let me take a break here, Dave. We'll come back, and I'm going to have you give us some deadlines for registration and, of course, some of the legalities that pastors can do concerning voter registration, and how important it is that we get involved in a primary election. Dave Crowe's with us with Restore America and the campaign Value Your Vote, Vote Your Values, and we'll be back with him in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and our special guest today is David Crowe. He's the founder and president of Restore America, and we're talking about voting your values and value your vote. But most importantly, coming up in May is our primary here in the state of Oregon. And David is giving us some interesting statistics about voter registration in the state of Oregon. And more importantly, coming up May 20th, we're having a special gathering. We've been sent out letters, and if you're a pastor or you may want to ask your pastor about this. Did you get a letter from Perry asking them to come to a luncheon on the 20th, of which we are going to help pastors understand the legalities and the opportunities and the importance of voter registration within your church. This is a nonpartisan activity, and it's totally legal. And we'll give you some of these statistics. Dave will be there to give you some of these statistics in his PowerPoint presentation. But I tell you, folks, we're at a critical moment, not only in the country, but in the state of Oregon. And David has so clearly pointed out that 355,000 Oregonians who could vote did not vote. If we could just increase that by 20%, we can sway just about any election in any county, any situation, anything going on in the state of Oregon. But David, a couple of dates. First of all, when's the last date to register?
April 29th for the primary.
All right.
If you're a day late on that, you can vote in the general, but you can't vote in the primary, and the primary is far more important than people think it is.
Yes, it is. And so between now and April 29th, and don't wait. If you have changed your name or changed locations, you need to re-register to vote. And so you're asking pastors up till that point, which is well, from this Sunday up through what day to do voter registrations?
Well, the Sundays in church would be
27th.
Tuesday. It would be Sunday, yes. Before that, it would be the 27th.
Right.
And they, even churches can collect. They can put that in the offering plate along with their offering, or just turn it in at the end of the church. Mm-hmm. And that way, the church can take those registrations down and turn them in, so you don't have to. So that's one way you can do that if you would like. If you want to keep all that information private, of course, you need to get that in, mail it in. If you've got several days before that, make sure that it gets in there in the mail before then. Okay.
Couple things here. I want people to know, again, we've sent a letter to your pastor. You may want to ask your pastor about, did they get the letter? And if they did, would they call us and let us know that they plan to be there? If the pastor can't make it, ask him to send you there and let you come and represent your church and get the information and learn what you can do. And pastors, let me encourage you to really prayerfully, and I'm asking you to prayerfully consider doing voter registrations in your church between now and April 27th. And the last day would be April 27th. It is so important. We can't be involved in this silent surrender because somehow we think this is political. This is being good Christians and good citizens. David, for those of us, you and I, who have been through the battle of primaries, give me your thoughts on how important a primary is.
Well, let me go back to some numbers here. If your listeners have a pen or pencil and a piece of paper, I don't care whether it's tattered or whatever it is, write these numbers down. Like we said, 30% of Oregon's population is 1,191,000. That's projected for the primary. 76% are eligible to vote. That's 905,000. 71% are projected to register. And these are based on what we see year after year, election after election. About 71%, might be 1 or 2% above that or below that, are projected to register. That's 643,000. If there's as high a turnout as 45%, that would be 289,000 evangelicals out of the 905,000 who are eligible actually cast a vote. So we have not voting. We've got 355,000 who are registered and not voting. We've got 616,000 who are eligible and not voting. This is for Oregon, folks. Those are stupendous numbers. A small percentage, like Perry's talking about, could change our legislature, could change our county direction, could change our state's direction, governorship, and send a message by supporting marriage again and saying, don't come back on this marriage issue. We voted this before, 57-43. And no matter what the media tells you, this is a major watershed moral and ethical and political decision in this country, And if Oregon leans away and goes back, it's discouraging to all the other 31 states who've held firm. So, folks, we not only appeal, we plead, we beg you to make sure that your church has voter registration, nonpartisan, not telling people how to vote or what party to get involved in. You might have the page out there for them to look at both parties, the summation of both parties, 2 different pages, so people can look at it and decide what they're going to do. But this is our calling. This is the calling of our time. And it is extremely important for the state of Oregon and for the nation that we Christians vote.
Well, in addition to that, David, we have, between now and Mother's Day, a petition drive going in the state of Oregon, and you already previously mentioned, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, you are paying for 11 abortions a day in the state of Oregon. Now, could we, by just our commonality and belief and faith, stop that by signing this petition and stopping our state tax dollars for paying for those 11 abortions a day? That's what the petition drive's all about. And we have between now and Mother's Day to get those signatures in. And Dave, I'm shocked of this go-around on this issue, as simple as that is, how some Christian organizations have decided not to allow that petition to be circulated within their premises. And I'm thinking, we are silently surrendering to killing babies, and here's an opportunity to stop it. I don't know how to put my head around it.
Well, I don't either, and I think you probably read a commentary that I was pretty specific about last year when we realized that there was really not the cooperation of the evangelical churches to get the petitions in. And I would suggest that they could start doing voter registration this Sunday if they would like. But those petitions need to be out where people can sign them. Make sure you're registered to vote before you sign the petition, because the State Elections Division, we found out this the hard way a couple of years ago. Remember, Perry, when we had to go to court?
Yeah.
Is that if there's one signature on a 20-line page that is not registered, they throw the whole page out.
They throw the whole page. So all 20 signatures are gone.
They're all gone. So make sure that you do your citizenship duty to make sure you're registered. Do so as quickly as you can so you can sign that petition. We need about 150,000 signatures. 150,000, we have 905,000 who are eligible to vote. You would think that we would be able to come up with 150,000. It means we make priorities out of this.
Do you remember
this is a matter of priority.
Do you remember the first time we dealt with the same-sex marriage issue and we circulated the petitions through the church during a time where they shortened the time that we could get it in? It was the shortest special petition drive ever in the state of Oregon, and we got the most signatures through the churches, over 500,000. And here we are today, several years later, and we're scrambling to get 150,000.
And that was the cleanest, by the Elections Division own admission. It was the cleanest petition that they had ever dealt with. It was done through honorable people in our churches. That is our witness, folks. That is part of our witness to the world. If we want the world to respect us and for them to watch for the saints coming into their own, as the Scripture talks about, it's up to us to do the right thing. This is the right thing. Just do it. That phrase resonates with me. Just do it. And we're busy. Yes, our pastors are overwhelmed 24/7. We know that. That's why we pray for them. We pray for their families. But it's up to us to make sure we go to the pastor and say, Pastor, don't worry about this. I'll take care of it. Here's what we'll do. It'll be nonpartisan. We'll have it 3 Sundays. We'll be out there. I'll have a couple of people with me. And we won't talk politics. We're going to talk citizenship, because it's not about politics. It's about citizenship. And that's how the nation has changed. It's not by might, it's not by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord.
Amen.
And I add, working through His people, the body of Christ.
All right, let me just say, folks, March 20th, there's a special luncheon set aside for pastors, or you, if you're going to represent your church. And let me encourage you to talk to your pastor, call him today, and ask him if he's going to go, and if he's not, could he allow you to go in his place? And then get a hold of First Church of Nazarene, let them know you're going to come so they can have enough lunch there. But it's March 20th, it's a Thursday at noon, and we want to see you there, and we'll give you all of the information that surrounds voter registration in your church between now and April 27th. And Dave, before I let you go, it's totally legal, right? This is something that can be done totally
Absolutely.
legal.
We haven't lost, because we're Christians, we haven't lost our voting rights. And because we go to church, they cannot do that. They haven't. None of them admit to doing that. In all the states, it's entirely legal. In fact, it's encouraged. They want more people to register and vote. It depends on whether you're in a very liberal state. They're not going to say much, and we know that. But we've checked this out. We've worked it through Liberty Council. We've worked it through Alliance Defending Freedom, formerly of Alliance Defense Fund. Mm-hmm. All of the organizations, FRC, Tony Perkins, Gary Bauer, all of these folks, we've done our homework. And we know what we're saying here, and we want to share that with as many of you as we can. We want to help you. We want to be a service to you. We don't want to dictate to anybody. We simply want to serve and do the right thing as the body of Christ in America. And we can change Oregon, and we can change America if we choose to.
Thank you, pal. Love you. Go to Restore America website and check out the whole campaign and get all this information we talked about Dave has on his website. And again, please respond and let us know whether you're a pastor or you're going to send somebody from your church, or if you're listening, ask the pastor to send you to get together on the 20th at First Church of the Nazarene. We'll give all this information out to you. Thanks, pal. Keep up the good work.
Love you too, brother. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Well, earlier today, I had a chance to see a videotape of this remarkable children's choir called the Watoto Children's Choir practice. They were practicing last night at Table Rock Christian Fellowship. Well, with me in the studio right now is Robert Sendegeya. He is the leader of the choir, and we're going to talk to him not only about the choir but their ministry. But take a look and take a listen to these children practicing last night. That gives you a little bit of an idea of the children's choir, and they were practicing last night there at Table Rock Christian Fellowship. Robert, nice to have you. Welcome.
Thank you.
And you told me just a few moments ago you've been touring the United States for 7 months?
No, we have been touring the United States for 3 months.
Oh, 3 months.
But
okay.
It's a 7-month tour.
Wow.
We've been to Norway, Sweden, and we still have 1 month to go.
1 month to go. And in the United States, primarily on the West Coast?
Yes, on the West Coast. Phoenix, California, Oregon, and Washington State.
Wow. Well, tell us about the choir. And these are from your church?
Yes, Watoto is a church.
Okay.
And out of the church, we have different ministries. Our pastors are Canadian missionaries, came to Uganda, started Watoto in 1992.
Wow.
And the choirs have been traveling since 1994.
Wow.
So we have, this choir is choir number 62. But what we do, we have a group of children between 7 and 14 years that we travel together. We have different groups of people that get to support these children through sponsorship. our aim is to raise awareness for the orphan and abandoned child of Africa. And through the music and the dance that we do, we bring the message of Christ, and we're able to connect with different congregations, different churches that get to come alongside Watoto and support us to see lives of many children transformed.
All right. Well, how big is this need with the orphanage and with what you're trying to do there?
The need is really great. Many children are abandoned, orphaned. Back then, in the days, we had lots of children lose parents due to HIV/AIDS. Right now, in Watoto, we care for over 3,000 orphaned and abandoned children.
Really?
And that is fantastic.
Wow.
But all that is because of the help we have of friends all over the world that come alongside these children. We desire to be able to reach over 10,000 orphaned and abandoned children in Africa. So Watoto is not only concentrating in Uganda, but we are moving on to South Sudan, where many children have, due to the civil wars in Sudan, have lost their parents.
Really?
So Watoto, as a church, we are transforming that church in South Sudan, and hopefully we're starting the Watoto Child Care Ministries as well, and our aim to see as many children given an opportunity to be able to dream big. And we would like to rescue them, help them to raise them up to become leaders that will be able to transform the continent of Africa.
How big is the AIDS problem? Is it still epidemic?
Yes, it is, but it is not as big as it was in the 80s.
Okay.
Due to many people being exposed and the education out about HIV/AIDS, there have been different means of being able to suppress the HIV epidemic. But the repercussions that were left behind, that is what we're going through back home in Africa.
Now, most of these kids here are orphans?
Yes. All children are either orphaned or they have been abandoned.
They have been abandoned. And how long have they've been a part of your choir now? 2 years, you say?
They've been, the children travel once on the choir. They only have 6 or 7 months to travel on the choir, and then they go back home to their classes. But they've been, many of them have been part of the organization for 4 years, 3 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
And
it's got to be life-changing for them.
It is, absolutely. They are enjoying it and they're loving it, every moment of it.
Wow. And so they obviously committed to Christ, and they go back into their classes and work with children there.
Yes, they do.
What are your needs? How can our listeners and viewers help you?
We would love many, as people can, to log on to our website, watoto.com, and there they will be able to...
W-A-T-O-T-O.
Absolutely.
Those, yeah.
And then people will be able to find out lots of ways how they can be able to help us. We need great sponsorships of children. We have a self-sustainability department where we're able to produce different food stuffs. We plant, we have land, we do agriculture.
Oh.
We need people that have knowledge about that in a way that they can help us to expand, and we can be able to transform many lives. That the agricultural facilities we have, one, they produce food for the children that we have. Two, they are a training ground for these children to be given a skill, and they can go back to society and be able to impact it.
Okay, that's W-A-T-O-T-O, Watoto.com. And coming up in just a few moments, I'm going to give this, Robert's given us this album to give away of the children's choir, so Sue, be ready for phone calls. I'll tell you that in just a few moments. But how many songs you have on here?
We have around 14 songs on
14 songs. Now, what about the music? How do you arrange all that?
We have a skilled team of people back home in Uganda, in Watoto Church, that help us to select the music. It's Christian contemporary music, African Christian contemporary music, that we can be able to share with the world.
What happens to a child? I mean, it's got to be quite a cultural shock to come from Uganda, to get involved in a choir and come into the United States, or go to other countries, any other countries, to leave your country and go around the world. That's got to be quite an adjustment for them to see all of that, and yet an incredible education.
That is so true. One might think that, but they are children. Their excitement is very big. They want to see everything. They're very inquisitive to ask and learn, and then their confidence builds with time. So it is a training program for us. Seeing these children come to different parts of the world, see what the world has, and they're able to learn, and they get to desire to transform their lives into different things.
I would imagine, you said earlier to help kids dream big. When a student comes on this tour with your choir and goes home, they've seen another world, another whole way of life.
That is true.
That's got to really put big dreams in their heart.
That is true. We've gotten a couple of children that along the way, their dreams have come to change depending on who they get to interact with. They have been with doctors. One of the girls visited a dentist, and they had a good chat about dentistry and different equipment, and by the time she was done, her dream was to become a dentist. She wanted to help many more other children that have problems with their teeth, as she has been helped. And being encouraged by the dentist that you can be able to do this, you can study and focus on what you need really to do, and your dreams can come true.
Oh, that's wonderful. In Uganda, are you under any political pressure? Does the government let you worship the way you want to worship?
Yes, the government let us to worship the way we would love to worship.
Okay, so you're okay there.
We are okay.
Okay, other places are not in Africa, right? Like Sudan and others?
Really wouldn't be very sure about that, but all I know, back home in Uganda, we do have a freedom of worship.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I love to hear when you talk about part of your program to help people is through agriculture. And I think that's wonderful. So you get a lot involved in that, right?
Yes, we do.
And do the young people like that?
Yes, the young people are empowered to love that. It is the reality of what we have back at home. Agriculture makes a difference, provides for food. Yeah. There's lots of education and lots of things that we can do. So that is just one of the departments that we have out of our self-sustainability programs that can be able to educate different children.
What about general education?
General education, we do have that one. Children go back to school, but we would love to give them another skill beyond just sitting in class. They can be able to sit in class and also be able to do something outside just the classrooms.
Wow. Is there a revival going on in Uganda?
Nothing that I know of.
Okay. But your church is growing?
Our church is growing.
How big is your church now?
We sit around 25,000 people, and we have
25,000?
Yeah, and we have 9 campuses around Kampala and Gulu as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right, we have this wonderful album. It's called the Watoto Christian Choir album. And again, let me encourage you to go to watoto.com. That's their website. And if the Lord's tugging on your heart to get involved with what they do, I like the little subtitle down here, Rescue, Raise, and Rebuild. And that's what they do with orphans. And you can go to WATOTO and check out what they do. Again, we're going to give this to caller number 7 at 776-5368. Area code 541-776-5368. Caller number 7 will get this children's choir album. All right, before I let you go, I only got about a minute left. Where are you going from here, Robert? What's your schedule?
We will be at Westminster Presbyterian Church here in Manford.
Oh, today?
Yeah, today.
Oh, tonight.
The concert is at 7.
Okay.
Please come and enjoy it. We're looking forward to seeing you.
Oh, I'm telling you, these kids are full of energy. We'll play a little and let you see a little as we close out. Thanks for coming in. God bless you, my friend. Okay.
God bless you.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, theDove.us.